I think it has a new name now. I forgot exactly what it is, but you can load up. You can go onto that page, and you can click around on the page, and everywhere you click, it pops up the history of the land of that particular parcel. It tells you the size of it, the ownership history, and what's been going on. And so what I did was, when this Bundy thing started getting into the news a couple of weeks ago, is I went on to the Clark County Assessor's website, and I started clicking around, checking out the land history of the lands there. And in the normally strategic areas where someone would want to acquire land for and be able to cash in later on down the road in the future by owning this land, I started checking out the history, and there's the original most of the original landowners in the Bunkerville area are Mormon elders, and I actually worked for a Mormon elder for a few years in Las Vegas, helping him with some of this research because they were worried about some of their people doing crooked land deals, and so I educated him on how to find out what's going on with these lands. And they were actually concerned about the Bunkerville area back in the mid '90s. So anyway, what I did was is I started clicking around. I noticed really strange things going on that are not normal in these types of situations related to the BLM. Basically, in general, the original mandate was is that the BLM is managing sections, 640-acre parcels. They're sections, and the only time they're managing a land smaller than a section is if they have a section that borders private land. I started noticing during about the around 1996 and on, they started acquiring intermingling properties, smaller sections, and going in and somehow acquiring what used to be private land, and then the recorded history was disappearing on some of these recorded parcels. And I started blowing the whistle on that around 1996 and 1997, and I couldn't get any clear answers from anybody. Like in the county recorder's office, I was like, and they would like say, "Oh, well, it's the federal government. They do what they're going to do."
Well,
It's
let me
not.
ask you that. So how did people respond to your whistleblowing on this?
Nobody really cared, and the important people that I associates in the real estate business, they said, well, then let's figure out what's going on and get in there and make some money.
Now,
And
now some of these properties had no cost at all. They were
right,
basically
so
given to these
so
corporations.
basically on that State Highway 170 that goes from that intersection in the middle of nowhere on the I-15 into Bunkerville, I started looking. Usually, those are the kind of places where this kind of stuff goes on. So I started clicking around on in the area associated with that road that goes into Bunkerville there, just northeast of the Bunkerville property, and I noticed that a lot of the suspicious land activity started in the mid '80s, and and there's some of the parcels that I clicked on had histories that were reminiscent from my past experience of somebody having some kind of land battle. Sometimes what will happen is a bank will, like you'll get a loan from a bank, and then you'll go into financial trouble, and the bank will try to take your land. And then usually what happens is somehow a big company ends up with it. It's really strange how, and this is strange. This kind of thing doesn't happen in Kansas, but I started noticing it happens a lot in southern Nevada. And you can't get, and it's really hard to, when you go, like when I go and try to find the original owners, they won't talk. They're scared, these people. And so what I did is I noticed that some of those parcels there had some strange histories that involved banks, like Zion's Bank Corp. And then as I kept clicking, the Reed family name started popping up. And I know from my relationships with some Mormon elders that the Reed family is a very small, tight-knit family, Mormon family, and there aren't that many of them. So if the name Reed pops up in Nevada or Utah, they're related. And so then when I started clicking on the Cedar Development Court, and it looked like that they weren't paying for the land. I mean, there was no assessed value on the land, and it said the county record says that they didn't pay any money for it. And then I started clicking the adjacent USA properties around it, and during the history, the size of those parcels started shrinking, and they always shrunk in related similar to the similar time periods that changes happened to the status of some of these other lands like Cedar Development Corp in the Reed in these Reed family trusts and these other LLCs that started buying up these lands or started ending up with these lands.
Well, Rusty, let me ask about the Reed Bunkerville LLC, the Reed Family Trust. These groups, these corporations, these trusts, some of them paid nothing for the land. So how does a corporation suddenly just get something for nothing?
Right. That's what I'm saying. What's going on here? I mean, the adjacent BLM parcels started shrinking, and then their parcels started growing. And there's no record of were they buying it or paying for it or what. And I've also noticed in other areas, not exactly in this area, but the BLM buying deeded land for hugely outrageous prices. Small, like there was a parcel down near that further down the Virgin River there, adjacent to the state wildlife area. They paid over $700,000 for a 10-acre parcel. Now, why? I mean, in that 10-acre parcel, I looked closer at it. It has no strategic value whatsoever. So why would they pay $700,000 for a 10-acre parcel in the middle of nowhere? At the most, it's maybe worth $10,000 or $20,000.
The Bureau of Land Management paid $700,000 for a 10-acre parcel of land. Who did they buy it from?
The history is in there. I identified that particular parcel in my video as I was clicking through the area there, and there's that kind of stuff is going on all over Clark County, all over the place. And I would say that there's one of two reasons for that. Somebody politically connected owned that land and cashed in off the taxpayer. Or the BLM is trying to acquire that land for some other reason. And they're willing to pay top dollar for that. Those are the only two reasons. That's the only two reasons that I think that they would pay an outrageously high price for a piece of land that doesn't make any real economic sense. I would say that just based on my experience with what goes on in Nevada, this particular area here, because of the really hard to the access area to the east, I mean, it's almost impossible to get onto this land from the east. And the fact that it's bordered by Lake Mead and the Colorado River to the south and the Overton Arm, and the fact that the BLM has been evicting people out of the area to the west of there for the last 10 years, that the highest value to this land is its remote area that they can carry on secret activities on. They can secure this area very well.
So what do you anticipate being the military application of the property itself? Because we talked about the magnesium dolomites being used in rocket fuel. So
right.
It can still be mined though.
Yeah, it could be mined, but there's plenty of that magnesium dolomite all over the place. What makes it
special?
Well, what it is that in the early 90s when I was escorting surveyors out there, that's what they were talking about. And we were noticing a lot of the dolomite stuff, and it's a normal thing all around South Dakota. But what I'm saying now is that because of the way the Nellis Range and the Nevada test site is laid out, this area is way more has way more potential for securing and carrying on secret activities than just about any other land in that area. And part of the problem that these military industrial complex people are having right now is there's 1 million people living in the Las Vegas Valley, and they want to continue using Nevada as kind of like a secret dumping ground, and they want to carry on secret activities out there. The federal government does, but they're running out of areas to do that with. And when they carry on these activities, they need to have access to a highway. They need to, and I'll tell you right now, the reason why that in real estate 101, the reason why the Bundy Ranch is so important is because just to the east of the Bundy Ranch is a real big sandy arroyo, and it would be real difficult to have access to the east of that arroyo if they want to access this remote land. They need to put in the access through the Bundy Ranch in order to, it'll save them millions of dollars in construction and stuff to put a road right through the Bundy Ranch right up into that area. And also, too, you have to consider that if they're going to put any kind of development in there, they have to move in utilities. They have to move in electricity. They have to put in water lines. They're probably going to need to pipe in gas lines, and because of the lay of the land, they need to go right through the middle of the Bundy Ranch to do that. I mean, I've been involved in a lot of developments, and I know by looking at the lay of the land, that's what a sider does. Is a sider knows how to look at the land and know where the roads need to go and know where that kind of where the development needs to be. And the thing is that the sider went in there in the 50s, 60s, or 70s before they built the I-15 and figured this out. And the only reason why there's a major highway interchange where it is there directly north of the Bundy Ranch is because somebody was planning on having access to this highly remote, easily to secure piece of land. Now, things could have changed since then. Back in the 50s and after World War II, there was a huge bunch of military complex companies going out assessing